Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you're looking to get more sales, more customers, master your marketing, and ultimately take control of your retail or e-commerce business, then you're in the right place. I'm Selena Knight, a retail growth strategist and multi-award-winning store owner whose superpower is uncovering exactly what your business requires to move to the next level. I'll provide you with the strategies, the tools, and the insight you need to scale your store. All you need to do is take action. Ready to get started? Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you are a long-time listener, I would love to say thank you so very much for hanging around with me for a very long time. It is greatly appreciated. And if this is your first or maybe your second episode, welcome. I hope you get a lot from today's episode, and maybe it will give you a bit of an insight as to how my brain thinks and how I work with people. Now, I have to say I've had a pretty rough week, and I'm literally recording this late for my team. Like, I am owning up and saying, I'm recording this on a Wednesday when it's supposed to go out on a Friday. This podcast may go out late, and that is totally on me. I have let the team down because I've had a really shit week. Like, there's really no other words for it. And I haven't felt in the mood to do a podcast. Now, we're actually at this point where normally I would batch, or normally I do batch, not even normally, I do batch a bunch of episodes over the period of about 4 to 6 weeks. So over 4 to 6 weeks, I will batch like 12 podcasts out, and then I don't have to worry about it for like the next 3 months. So I generally try and do those. I say 4 to 6 weeks. Generally, I try and batch them in like a week. And then there'll be kind of the ones that might have to be rescheduled or whatnot. And maybe I'm just doing those here and there. But generally, I like to sit down and just get it out so I don't have to think about it again for 3 months' time. And we've hit that point where normally we would be batching them out. But we've had quite a few people need to reschedule. And the ones I've sat down to do by myself, I haven't actually done because I've been a little bit busy. Life's been a bit difficult. I haven't always been in my home office or at my office that I never go to. I've been away. I've been facilitating work down at the Airbnb. It's just, sometimes life gets in the way, but I know that I have to get a podcast out each week. And so I had a choice today. My team gave me a choice. It was, let's use one of the Instagram lives that you did a couple of months ago, or you can sit down and record a new one. It was up to you. And I was like, you know what? It's kind of taking the easy way out, doing the Instagram lives. Yeah, look, let's just keep that in our back pocket. I'm going to go and record a new episode. What the hell am I talking about? And so I was just thinking over the conversations that we've had inside of our 5X framework and inside of our Supercharge Mastermind. And what are the things that have been coming up consistently? Because, hey, if they're coming up for multiple people, they might be coming up for you too. And so I will begin with a massive shout out to, in particular, Dion from Little Kinfolk. You absolutely rocked a warehouse sale, which you finally committed to get rid of lots and lots of stock. In fact, I've actually convinced Dion to come onto the podcast in a few weeks to talk about how she put that together, because she had people lining up to get in the door. She had people lining up for 2 hours to pay. Like, that is commitment and loyalty to a brand, is it not? So I'm going to get her on the show and talk about how she did that and just the mindset around why she decided to do a warehouse sale. Because you know me, like, I'm not about discounting. I'm about value adding. And so I've got her coming on the show. I've got Mavis coming on the show, and she is going to talk about how she's using pre-selling, like literally like kicking it out of the park when it comes to pre-selling, stuff that real people are doing inside of their businesses that you can do too. But another thing that's come up, so they're the good things, right? And I'm going to talk to you about the good things, but I also want to talk to you about how I kind of kick people up the butt. But that's how I work, right? Like, people choose to work with me and my team. Our 3 brand values are bold, knowledgeable, and insightful. So knowledgeable kind of speaks for itself. Bold is we aren't afraid to do the kicking of the ass, right? Like we aren't afraid to call you out. I actually pick my team based on how well they are able, obviously their knowledge, obviously, and their insight, but how well they are able to hold people accountable. And that bold thing is really about holding people accountable, because there are lots of coaches, strategists, masterminds, all that kind of stuff where it is all about making you feel warm and fuzzy. And yes, I freaking want to make you feel warm and fuzzy. But my love language when it comes to doing that is making you more money. I feel like I need to develop like the 5 love languages of a business strategist. Oh, what would they be? I have to think about that. But mine is making you money because, one, I truly believe the more money that you have, the more people you serve, and the more you get to make choices. Money gives you choices. Money gives you breathing space. I'm not saying it buys you happiness, right? But money does give you options. That's what money gives you. If you are sick and you have money, you have options. If you are overwhelmed and you have money, you have options. You can hire people, you can outsource, you can implement technology, all of the things. So my whole goal in business is to make you more money, because when you have more money, you make better choices, or you have more choices to make. And so I know that I have competitors out there. I have so much love for some of my competitors. Like, I look at what they do and think, man, I wish I was as good as you at Instagram. Like, it's just not my thing. I do it, but I am not all over that thing. And there's lots of people, like lots of business coaches look, that I don't call myself a coach, right? I am a strategist. This is why I don't call myself a coach, because I don't know that I'm really that good at making you feel like I'm your best friend. Does that sound really weird? Because I don't, as much as I love the people I work with, and some of them have gone on to become great friends after they've been clients, that's kind of not why you're hiring me and my team, right? You don't come and work with us because you need a best friend. You don't come and work, don't buy one of our programs because you want somebody to do the work for you. If you want that, you go and hire an agency. If you just want a community, go and pay to be part of a community. But if you actually want to be held accountable and you want something that's more than a job and you want someone to just give you the kick up the ass and hold you accountable, that's what we're good at. And we're good at making you money. So, for example, Dion just did over $30,000 in a weekend. Excuse me. Amazing. So we make sure we put the explicit, guys, make sure we put explicit on this episode. So freaking amazing. Mavis, look, that woman is having the best months ever consecutively. So kicking it out of the park. Amanda comes to mind, like first month that they have like hit their stretch, her business has hit their, like these goals, which we put in place, which were not just baseline goals. They were, a little bit more than baseline goals. So we're great at pushing you out of your comfort zone. We are great at facts. Like, we know what we're talking about. Every person in my team has been in the retail industry. They have either had their own agencies or have their own agencies, or they've had retail stores. And they own their own businesses. A lot of my team members do have businesses on the side. And so they run their own business as well as working inside of my business. And so that knowledge and that insight and that, I guess, that expectation from our clients is why people come and work with us. And so one of the things that we talked about this week I think it was inside the Supercharge program, was why $1 million should be your baseline. Now, let's be clear. Some people in that program are not quite at $1 million, and some people are doing more than $1 million. But I wanted to talk to you about something that is, let's be honest, it's going to be freaking controversial. Like, some of you are going to hate me for this, having this conversation out loud. But, I'm kind of tell it like it is. Like, this is me. This is what we do. And if you don't like it, like with much love, then maybe this is not the podcast for you. Like, I wish you all of the best. But if you're the kind of person who wants more, like you've gotten to the point in your business where you're like, is this it? Like, is this it? If you ever ask yourself, is this it? The answer is no. There is so much more. You're probably just stuck in a rut. And look, it happens to me too. Like, I am not saying that I have got all this shit figured out. Like, I get caught in a rut. I have a great business friend, Gina, who is so fantastic when we both get these moments, but we have a call once a fortnight. You've probably heard me talk about this, right? But we also have Voxer. So sometimes we'll just send each other a Voxer. And I sent her a message last week because it was a pretty bad week. We had to put down one of my daughter's pets, which was really traumatic. It was quite an extended being it went for a week. You know, money aside. But again, hey, money gives you choices. We had the choice to take the axolotl, aka the penis fish, which is what I called it. It was not well, and we had the money to take it to the vet. It was a ridiculous amount of money, and they had to put the pet down in the end, which was obviously very traumatic. But seeing this animal get sicker and sicker, as you can imagine, was very stressful for the household as a whole. Nobody wants to see their pet, even though I didn't really like the animal, nobody wants to see a pet in pain or not well. And you certainly don't want to see your kid being that traumatized. And so my point here is that money gives you choices. Money gives you choices to take that animal to the vet. Money gives you choices to just step out of your business for a few days and go, I just need some space. Like, I need to be there for my family. And I can't remember where I was going with that conversation. Anyway, the haters might hate me for this conversation, because if you are at six figures, or maybe you're not even at six figures, I'm guessing most of you here are at six figures, because we're talking about scaling businesses. That's what we do. But if you're at six figures and you're feeling a bit, I think that's what we're talking about, stuck, overwhelmed. Yes, talking about Gina. I just sent her a message and was like, I feel like shit. Like, I'm really stuck. And she just sends me back these little peppers me with voice notes, which is like, I think they were like, you can do, I can actually find them on my phone, but it's like, you can do this, lady. You've got this. You're wonderful. And then she'll send me little voice notes like, I'm here for you if you need me. And just remember such and such. And just those little things. Okay, they don't fix everything, right? But they have that ability to kind of just know that people are there for you. And that is huge. Like, knowing that you have someone who gets you is like life-changing and business-changing. So if you don't have that, you need that. But here's the thing. I'm gonna get to the episode in a moment, I promise. Here's the thing. You need a couple of groups of people. You need, and I've talked about this in the past, like your business advisory board or your personal advisory board, but you need your cheerleaders, the people who are there for you all the time. That, for me, is my husband. Even though he is in sales and he is an amazing salesperson, he very rarely gives me advice. He just listens. And that can be extremely frustrating. He listens and then he just says to me things like, oh, you've got this. You've been through worse than this. You know, oh, why don't you talk to Gina about this? Like, you know, between the two of you, you always come up with something amazing. And like, he's my cheerleader. And so I have to recognize that going to him for advice might not be the best option. Not at all because he's not smart. Like, the dude is freaking amazing, but because that's not how he sees his role in the, you know, in my business relationship, I guess you would say. So if I need that advice, I have to go elsewhere. So you have your cheerleaders. You always have to have your cheerleaders. You've got to have those people who, when you're having the down day, when you feel like shit, when it is all too hard, you turn to those people. But then you have to have the ass kickers. You have to have the people who, and you have to be accountable here, I'll just say. You have to decide whether you need the cheerleaders or whether you need the ass kickers. And you'll know. Like, if you're honest with yourself, you'll know. I am okay for you to wallow in self-pity for a little while, but you can't make that your whole business, I don't know, ethos. Like, you've got to take responsibility at some point. So have the little wallow, but then you've got to move on. So then you need the ass kickers. And the ass kickers are the ones who will tell you like it is. They will tell you that, okay, you're having a shit week. What are we going to do about it? Okay, the axolotl, slightly different story. But if it's a business thing, it's like, okay, so, talking it out with them or being able to ask hard questions or being able to say, look, this is what's going on. I need some help. I need someone to help me diagnose where I need to put my focus. Or, you know what? I've got no focus. I mean, you probably think I am like super laser targeted and focused, right? But I will have weeks where it all just falls in a pile. And I'll get on my calls with Gina and I'll say, I just need you to help me focus. Like, I'm just going to throw everything that I'm doing at you. And I just want you to repeat back to me what I need to focus on. And it works, right? Like, that's sometimes you just need to have that person, that sounding board. And if you aren't lucky enough to have that person in your like sphere at the moment, then you're more than welcome to come and, have a chat with us and in our team and see if our programs are good for you. But you have to be accountable. Like, you can't just say, things aren't working, then expect it to get fixed, right? You have to go out and ask for help. You have to be tracking the data and you have to be able to yourself, you have to be able to know when you need help and when you're just avoiding stuff, right? Because I did a Facebook Live the other day and it's like, I literally got on there and I was like, yeah, I'm going live on an Ask Me Anything because I'm kind of procrastinating because I don't really feel like doing my book work, my accounting. I knew I had to do it. I just needed something to like give me 10 minutes away before I had to like dig in and get it done. And you know what? The thing is, I don't do the book work. I just have to like upload the statements and my bookkeeper does it. It's like 15 minutes work. I was, it was a hard week last week and I just couldn't be bothered. So knowing when you're procrastinating versus, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm here. Just give me the stuff. Like, I'm putting it out there. I'm making myself vulnerable. Here's my situation. Give me some feedback. And so inside of one of our programs, in fact, that's actually happened a few times inside of our programs this last week, but inside of one of our programs, we were celebrating a win. And one of the people said, my next goal is $1 million. And that is awesome. Like, I am all for helping you get to $1 million and I will map it out with you and I will show you exactly what you need to do and we'll put a plan and a strategy together. And so after I went through that, I said, oh, why do you want to make $1 million? And she came back to me and she's like, well, that's like the number everybody goes for, right? Like, you see, we dug into it a bit and it was like, oh, $1 million. Once I hit $1 million, life will be different. Once I've hit $1 million, I'll have all this money in the bank. Once I hit $1 million, it would just be easier. And I was like, well, that's, like, what makes you say that? Well, on social media, everyone's like, once you hit $1 million, it just gets easier. And let me say, if you are already at 7 figures and you have lived through this, you've lived through the spoiler alert, which is, it doesn't get any easier at 7 figures. I promise you, the world of business does not magically change when you tick over from $999,999 to $1 million. It's still the same shit every single day. You're still going to have to go through the same things. You're just going to go through them at a different level. So what I wanted to do, and as I said, there are going to be some people who this is an extremely triggering episode for. And so if that is you, before we even jump in, because I'm going to jump into some math, before we jump in and I break some stuff down, I just want to ask you why. Why is it triggering for you, if this is you, to talk about making $1 million? And I'm going to go into a few things inside of this episode, but making $1 million isn't greedy. Making $1 million should actually be your baseline if it isn't already. And let me break down why that is. So even if you're at 6 figures or if you're at 7 figures, the stuff I'm going to break down in today's episode is beneficial for everybody. So don't just like tune out if you're already at 7 figures. You'll still get some stuff out of this episode. And what I want you to do is maybe just, instead of changing out where I say $1 million, maybe change that out for 10. I know, right? A lot of you, if I say $10 million, are just going to think it isn't possible. But it is. Like, I can tell you it is totally possible. You just have to go through and listen to some of the past episodes of retailers who have hit those numbers in like 5 years. It's not about just having a huge amount of venture capital or seed money or anything like that. A lot of this is about mindset and actually believing that you can do it. Don't worry about the how. Like, the how. I'll help you with the how. That's what I do. Worry about the what. Like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do with that money? And so bear with me as I jump into some numbers. Let me just pull up, I can't do numbers in my head very well. So let me just pull up my bit of paper to make sure that I've actually, I'm giving you the right numbers as you're listening to this with me. But I want to talk to you today about why $1 million should be your baseline. It shouldn't be the big dream that you're arching for. Like, it should be, you know what? Dare I say it? I don't really have a real business until I've hit $1 million. And I know that sounds really trite, but let me try it. Can I try it? Have I used the right word there? All right, you'll tell me if I haven't. Let me just break down why I am saying this. So at $1 million a year turnover, none of this is seasonally seasonally adjusted, and everything is simplified. That's where justified came in. Adjusted, simplified. So none of this is seasonally adjusted. Everything is simplified. So please don't be emailing me saying, hey, your numbers are out by 0.5%. We're just kind of breaking this down to give you a really simplified version of what $1 million in business in retail and e-commerce looks like. So at $1 million turnover is $20,000 a week. Like I said, some of you might be hitting that already. Others are like, holy heck, how am I ever going to get to $20,000 a week? Don't worry about the how, right? Today is not about the how. So $1 million less your cost of goods sold. So your cost of goods sold is all the stuff that you've sold. And I'm going to be working here on the fact that you have 50% margin. So you buy something for $1, you sell it for $2. You buy it for 10, you sell it for 20. I'm not talking about adding state taxes, county taxes, all those extra GST, VAT. We're not even going there. This is simplified stuff. Okay. So just bear with me. Let's work through it. $1 million turnover is $20K a week. But your $1 million less your cost of goods sold, the stuff that you have sold to make the $1 million, brings you back to $500,000. So you've sold $500,000 worth of stock and you've made $500,000 in profit. Simplified, remember? Okay, so from that $500,000 that we've got left over in air quotes profit, we've got to pay tax. Now, I'm going to give you a tax rate of 15%. Here in Australia, our business tax rate is 30%. But of course, there is the situations where you have inputs that get offset against the tax that you pay and all that kind of stuff. So for simplified numbers, I'm going to go with a tax rate of 15%, assuming that we have taken all those inputs and stuff out, right? So for our $500,000 at 15% tax, that's another $75,000 gone. So we're now left with $425,000 profit. Now, from that $425,000, we're going to take out 30% worth of overheads. That is pretty standard in the retail and e-com industry. And for your overheads, we're talking about those general running costs. So that's going to be your staff. That's going to be your rent. That's going to be like all those fixed costs. Yeah, it's going to be your utilities. It's going to be your insurances. It's going to be, gas and all those sorts of things. At 30% from the 30% of the $1 million turnover, because remember, that is actually made on the turnover, that's another $300,000. So far we're at $500,000 profit after we've sold our stock, less $75,000 in tax at 15%, gives us $425,000, less $300,000 in overheads, gives us $125,000 left to grow the business. Now, that doesn't include things like loan repayments, or if you have debt, like of some sort of debt that you need to pay down, or like none of that has been taken into account. So assuming we have $125,000 left, we have that much money to grow the business. And I can tell you now, right? Even just $125,000 worth of stock, if you're turning over $1 million, that is not an awful lot of stock, right? So we've got $125,000 left over. And maybe you need to upgrade systems and processes. Maybe you need to hire more team members. Maybe you do need to buy more inventory. Maybe you need to do more marketing. All of that stuff needs to come out of the $125,000. Now, fun fact here, if you didn't know, the average retail and e-commerce business sits at around 10 to 15% profit. So after you take everything else out, you're looking at around 10 to 15%. Funnily enough, my $125,000 on $1 million turnover is 12.5%. There you go. Pretty standard and in the middle. So at $1 million, you're left with, on average, between $100,000 and $150,000. And from that money, you're going to have to invest in more inventory. You're going to have to invest in more people, more technology, more ad spend, like all the things. And so this is why I want you to understand that making $1 million is not greedy. Now, from that $125,000 that's left, you can take that as a dividend as a business owner. Awesome. Because we've already included your wages in the 30%, your average working wage into the 30% of overheads. But if you didn't do that, then you now have to take your profit, your wages, your drawings out of that $125K. And let's be honest, $125K for the manager of a retail store is, or in your case, the CEO of a retail business, is very standard. So you could actually make that same amount of money going and working as a marketing manager or like whatever your zone of genius was before you came into this business. There's a good chance that you could go and make that in some kind of corporate job and not be responsible for any of this shit. No looking after people, no customers, no inventory, no maths, all of the things. If you are still here with me and you're like, oh, crap. All right, now I know I need to make more than $1 million. What I want to ask you is, why has $1 million not been your baseline? And for those of you who are already at seven figures, what needs to be your new baseline? That number that is like the critical number that we should never get below. You have to have that number. And you're probably going to go, if you're at seven figures and I'm telling you to make that number 5 million or 10 million, you're probably going to do the same freak out that the people who are doing a couple of $100,000 are doing right now when I'm saying $1 million. Okay. New level, new devil. Happens to all of us. I promise you. You're going to be sitting there going, how am I going to do this? I don't know how. I like, how do I get from 2 million to 10 million? Like, it was hard enough to get to 2 million. And I will be honest, that first million is hard. That's the hardest one. Because once you get there, you do have a bit of a shift in mindset. And you do have this like, oh, okay, we've got it. Let's do it again. And by $1 million, you kind of have some systems and processes in place. You're a little bit more savvy. You're hopefully open to spending a little bit more money to grow your business. And you know that you need help, right? Nobody builds these massive businesses without help. It's like you don't win a gold medal at the Olympics without an amazing coach and an amazing support team, do you? So if the new number that I'm asking you to put as a baseline is freaking you out, my question to you is, what is holding you back from wanting more? These are the questions that we have inside of our group, right? Is it that you don't know how? And look, this is what I do. Like, I'm a fixer, but I'm also a bit of a debater, right? And I can find an answer for just about every excuse you're going to throw at me. So is it that you don't know? Like, I don't know what I need to do. Well, my answer to you is find someone who can. Find someone who can show you. Like, if you don't know how to build out an email marketing program at that next level, find someone who can. If you don't know how to grow your business, come and hang out with me and my team and our groups. Like, we can do that. If you don't know how to run the numbers and do the forecasting, go and find yourself a VCFO to do that for you. Right? So there's an argument. If you are telling me that you don't know what you need to grow, then my answer to you back is, we'll just go and find the things. Like, identify your weak points in the business and find the people who can help you make those no longer weak points. All right. The next thing that you're probably going to think when I ask you, like, what's holding you back from hitting this number, is that you're like, it's money. I just don't have the money. I'm going to need more money to get there. Yeah, you probably are. Like, the truth is, you probably are going to need more money to get there. That's why I talk about using other people's money so often, because as you grow, you're going to need a cash injection. There are a lot of people who will be out there telling you that you do not need to invest in your business. You can just grow through organic profit. Yeah, you can. Generally, very slowly. So if you think you're going to need more money, you're right. Like, kudos to you. You get the gold star. You are 100% right. You will need more money at some point. Where are you going to get that money from? Are you going to get a loan? Are you going to get a partner? Are you going to put that in from your personal savings? Personally, I like using other people's money to grow. Done quite a few podcast episodes about that. So if you think money is the thing that's holding you back, the simple answer is, well, where are you going to find or acquire that money? Right? That's your next step. Go and find out where you're going to get that money from. Yeah, I'm really good at pushing people out of their comfort zone. Some people may even call me a bitch sometimes. But the truth is, I get results, my team gets results, and that does mean pushing you out of your comfort zone sometimes. And so you are going to have to go through some kind of pain to grow your business, whether that is in your own brain, whether that is like the fact that you're going to have to make really hard decisions. You may have to let people go. You may have to hold people accountable. Like, this is part of growing a business. Essentially, the answers that people give me when I'm saying, well, what's holding you back? What is the biggest thing that scares you about hitting that goal? Is fear. Like, what if I put all this money in and it doesn't work? It's like, right, that may happen. But if you're tracking your money and you are tracking your stats every single day and every single week, and you're not waiting until the end of the quarter, or even worse, end of the year, then you got a handle on that. You can change direction. You can, head it off at the pass. What's the saying? Like, you'll be able to make changes in your business when you are keeping tabs on all of that. So if that's your biggest fear, that you're going to put all this money in and lose it, well, my answer is just track your money. Surround yourself with people who understand money and will keep your money on track and will give you financial advice that you need. Is it that you worry that you won't hit your target? Like, that happens. I got to sometimes I don't hit my target, but inside of our group, someone will come in and say, I didn't hit my target and I'm really deflated. It's like, okay, totally appreciate that kind of sucks right now. But let's look at what happened. Why didn't we hit the target? Were our numbers down? Did we not get the customers in that we needed? Did a promotion not work as well? Like, let's do a debrief. What worked? What didn't? Realistically, why didn't you hit that target? Because the answers are all in the numbers. If you are tracking this stuff, and if you're inside any of my programs, like whether it's the 9 ways to move stock or anyway, we give you the CEO dashboard. Like, you have the Google sheet that will let you do this. So you have no excuse. Like, what's the answer? The numbers are always there. Maybe, you're saying it's the economy. Well, what is it about the economy? Is it that you've got less customers? Is it that you've got less traffic? Is your conversion rate down? Is your average order value down? Let's have a look so that we can work on that thing next time, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. So if you don't hit your target, it's going to feel like crap. But the great news is, if you're doing the right things and you're tracking what you're doing in your business, then your answers are there. We just build a plan to fix it next time. Like, simple. It's going to happen. Like, I promise you, it's going to happen. Like, it just does. And I think the other thing that people don't necessarily articulate very well is they say things to me like, well, what if I put all of this energy in and it doesn't work? Like, well, what doesn't work to you? Like, what is work? Like, it works. What does that look like? Let's call it success. Like, what does success look like for you? Because if you can't tell me that, then it's always not going to work. And you would be surprised at how many people can't articulate what success looks like for them. Or it is so, I'm going to say the bar gets set so low that it's perfectly achievable, but that's not exactly what they feel like success is. So, what is success? If you take nothing away from this episode, just sit down and write, like, get your phone out, get the notes, the little notes app out, get a journal, whatever you love to do. Right. What does success look like to you? Is it a dollar amount? Is it, we have a saying in our household, like, what's the FU number? You can imagine what that stands for. Like, what's the number where that you're at the point where you have enough money that you can say FU to, I don't even know why I'm saying FU when I said it actually a bit earlier. Like, where you can say that to anything or anyone because you get to have that choice. Like, what's that number to you? And it might be different things for different people. We've been through a few scenarios in our life where it was like, I've got the FU money, so I'm not going to do that. My husband left one of his jobs. He's like, right, we sold an investment property. He's like, we got the FU money. We're good. Like, I'm okay. And so what is the FU number for you? And what does success look like? There's no right or wrong answer. Like, I love working. I don't necessarily want to hang out with my kids all day, but for you, maybe that is your thing. Like, as long as I'm there and I can be present when I'm there, like, I don't need to be at every school event. I do my school cafeteria duty once a month. That is my obligation. That is my assuaging my mum guilt and showing my kid that I care thing. But what does it look like for you? Is it traveling around the world? You are totally allowed to be selfish here because this is your business, right? You built this thing to give you whatever freedom looks like for you. Is it going around the world and finding new fabrics or new products or meeting new people or this is it? Like, why are you here? Why are you listening to this podcast? Because you've got a business, a retail or e-commerce business. And what is that business here for? It's kind of hard. Like, as I said, you'd be surprised at how many people can't answer that question and have to go away and think about it. So I'm giving you a heads up. I'm saying go away and think about it. What do you want from this business? Because if you can't tell me that, if you can't tell yourself that, then it will never be successful because you've got nothing to aim for. Like, you're just getting up and doing the same shit every single day. And like, what wins are we celebrating? What is getting us on our path to success? So once you have that, and that can change, let me just say, like, put my hand up and say, what I wanted 5 years ago, I got. So now the answer is very, very different. And if you are watching, like, this is not just something I just like bullshit about on podcasts. I actually just did this myself. I pulled out my little like notebook that I keep for this kind of stuff and just wrote down what I want for my business in the next iteration. And it's big. And when you write these things down, write it down like, I am an 8-figure business owner. I am traveling all over the world. I am creating great connections with suppliers, or I am no longer working in my business. It just brings me in a shit ton of money. That one's totally okay as well. Remember, no judgment here when it comes to what you want from your business. The only thing that we might do is maybe make you dream a little bit bigger, think a little bit bigger. Because once we have that, we can reverse engineer it. So what are the steps we have to do to get you to that path? And that, my friends, is such a defining conversation, but also a defining moment. Because when you're presented with all these opportunities, and trust me, you will be presented with all these opportunities. And if you're anything like most of the people I work with, you want to take all those opportunities, you'll be able to sit back and say, okay, this is what success looks like for me. Is this thing truly going to put me closer to the thing that I want, to what success looks like for me? And if the answer is yes, awesome. You can start doing a bit more investigation as to whether you want to take that opportunity up. But if the answer is like a hell no, Great. It's like one less thing on your to-do list. And I love that. One less thing to clutter up your brain. So I guess in summary, at the end of the day, if you've been listening to this and you're like, you're just like some kind of guru is just trying to like tell me all these things to buy my program. I'm getting so many of those. I'm running ads for the 5X framework in case you haven't seen them. Oh my God, people are nasty on ads. They're all men, funnily enough, but they're just the most horrible things. And so I'm actually doing this engagement and I'm just like, hey, Michael, seems like you had some really bad experience, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to beat them at their own game. So at the end of the day, I guess if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, just like shut up, lady, maybe this is not like the podcast for you. I'm totally okay with that. And like I said at the beginning, with much love, I'll even happily refer you to people. Like if I know a coach or a consultant or an agency who can help you out, I'm more than happy to refer them to you because I just want you to see success, whatever that looks like for you. And if that is just turning up every day and standing behind a store counter or packing orders, okay, like that's you do you, boo. Like that just sounded really bad coming from me, didn't it? Like, but you do you. Like if that's what you want, awesome. Like I'm happy to give you resources to help you get there. But if you want more than that, if you want more than just turning up every day and doing the same things, then like let's chat. Like that's what we do. And I don't know if you hang out on my website very much, but I think about a year, I'm going to say a year, probably wasn't a year ago, I changed the wording on our website. I did this, not even the designer. And I changed it to something like, don't quote me here, but it's like, if you want more from your business than just a job, or if you want to turn your business from a job into a asset that works for you. I can't remember what I wrote, something along those lines. But that's what I do. That's what I'm great at. I am not great at startups. Like I don't have the mental energy for it. I'm not necessarily, I know I'm not great at just giving you big hugs and telling you everything's going to be okay. Because I'm a fixer. That's what I do. But if you want someone who gives you that no holds barred, just tell me what I need to do. And I had to laugh when I asked Dion to come onto the podcast. She's like, I'm just going to get on and say, I just did everything Sal told me to do. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, let's just walk through it all. But if you want someone, like that's why I go to the gym, right? I just want someone to tell me what to do. I don't want to have to think. If you want someone to help you do that, you're still going to have to think. Sorry about that one. And you're still going to have to do the work. But if you need that help, reach out to me, send me a DM. You can have a chat with my team and see if any of our programs are right for you. Or if you need some help and we can't help you, feel free to DM me and I'm more than happy to put you in touch with someone who might be the best person. But yeah, so today's whole episode was to kind of like break down what $1 million looks like in business. And the answer is, it isn't really an awful lot of money at the end of the day. It isn't an awful lot of money for you to grow your business. It's nothing to sniff at, let's be honest. And if we multiply it, if we get to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 10 million, we get economies of scale. But as you grow, you're always going to be hit with new issues to deal with. They're just at bigger levels. Same problems, just bigger amounts of money is what I like to say. And yeah, so if you are happy doing what you're doing, awesome. I hope you still got something out of today's episode. And if you want some help, if you want some strategy, if you want advice, you want the ass kicking, you want proven results, because that's, again, that's what we do, guaranteed that you will get results. And nobody else is doing that, right? Like that's how committed I am to making sure my team and I are so committed to you getting what you came here for, that we put our money where our mouth is. But that's you. Send me a DM. Feel free to jump on over to selinaknight.com/5X. I think that's the URL, or the website, 5X framework. Check it out, book in a call, chat to one of my team and see if it's right. Completely obligation free. And yeah, let me know what you think about this episode. What does $1 million feel like to you now? And if you're already in the 7 figures, I'd love to know, what is your new baseline number? Alrighty, guys, that is it from me. I hope you have a fantastic week and I'll see you here again next week. Bye. So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelena and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently, or gave you some inspiration, or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.